I love the flavors of different seasons. Today, we're focusing on fall. Spaghetti squash, broccoli cheese bake, apple protein crumble, maple pecan stuffed sweet potatoes, and this pumpkin spice coffee creamer is made with no artificial flavors or added sugar. Well, today we're making all things fall, and my good friend and neighbor Tiana is joining me in the kitchen today. And I'm so excited that you're gonna be here because we both love fall. We were talking about how it's one of our favorite seasons. It may not be fall where you live, but it is for us. So we're gonna make cozy comfort foods today.
Sounds good.
And we're gonna start with a cheesy broccoli spaghetti squash bake. And we're basically going to make a warm, cheesy casserole that's packed with nutrition, protein, veggies, all the good stuff, but it tastes like comfort food. For this recipe, you'll need 2 spaghetti squash, 3 cups of frozen broccoli, 1 cup of Greek yogurt, 1 cup of cottage cheese, 1 egg, 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and for the topping you'll need 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. So Tiana, I'll have you make the cheese sauce, and you're gonna add all of these ingredients right here to a blender. And we have Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, Parmesan seasonings, and egg, and that's going into the cheese sauce. And then I'm gonna scrape out our spaghetti squash. If you haven't used one of these, very easy to make. Have you ever used spaghetti squash when cooking?
I have, and I would make it a lot more if I could get my kids to eat it.
Same. I think the only reason that they are kind of like, I don't know about that, is it has just a slightly different texture than spaghetti, and kids are all about texture, but really the flavor is really good.
I agree.
What have you tried with spaghetti squash? Like, what dishes have you tried?
I mean, I just tried traditional spaghetti with, you know, like a red sauce.
Yeah.
And I think that's delicious.
Same.
I've also just tried it with like Parmesan and salt and pepper and olive oil. And I think it's delicious that way too.
And do you, when you make yours, do you bake it? Like, do you roast it?
Yeah, I will roast it or put it in the air fryer.
Oh, I haven't done air fryer. So you can go ahead and blend that sauce up.
Okay.
And I'm gonna continue to scrape this.
So one of the things that it was funny to me when we met is I wondered who lived in this house.
Oh yeah.
For so long because no one was here. And then when I saw that you had kids and you lived right across the street, I was like, hello.
Yes. Well, it was funny. We did not move in. I think we owned this house for 6 months, maybe even longer before we actually moved in.
Yes.
So yes, it sat vacant for quite a while after we bought it. So you can go ahead and pour the cheese sauce into the strands. I scraped all the strands into the baking dish. This is like the quick and easy, I'm not making a lot of dishes way to do it right here. We're just pouring everything into the baking pan that we're gonna cook it in. So we're not even really mixing it together in a mixing bowl. It's kind of hard to get it out, so I'm helping you along here, but that looks good. Okay, so I didn't even cut up broccoli, I just used frozen broccoli for this. And so we're just gonna dump the frozen broccoli florets that I already steamed in the microwave into this. And then I'm just gonna kind of stir everything together. And the crazy thing is that when we met, I actually had my kids outside. She had her kids in a wagon. And I was like, wait a minute. You have a boy and a girl, so do I. And our kids are pretty close in age.
They're each about a year apart from each other.
And then you're from Michigan, I'm from Michigan. So it was like the craziest thing. So Tiana owns her own business, just like I do. And so her husband works full time. She is obviously a mom to 2 kids and also has a business that she runs from home. So we have a lot in common. Yes. So we often talk about the craziness of being a mom and a business owner and a wife and just trying to keep our head above the water most of the time.
And it's a lot of, how do you do this question?
Yes. Do you want to tell everybody what you do? It's really interesting.
I own a marketing and advertising agency. We've been in business for about 12 years and we have clients all over the United States. So it's really fun. We do a lot of content. I'm just not often in the content.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is she did so much before even starting this business, where you did makeup for different singers and whatnot.
I traveled and worked on TV shows and worked with celebrities and brands. It was really fun, but that was a lifetime ago at this point. So.
Isn't it crazy?
Yes.
And then kids really do change everything. It's like suddenly you're like, wait, where are my priorities and how do I make this all happen? Because, you know, your kids really do become your priority. And yeah, you still have a love and a passion for the things you did before you had kids. And so it's really about trying to find a balance, which we know is not always easy. So we mix everything together. This smells and looks delicious already. We're gonna bake it, and the cheese is gonna get even more melty and kind of browned on top. We're gonna bake it 375 degrees for 40 to 45 minutes. All right, now we're on to a delicious fall dessert, which is some apple crumble, and we're doing protein apple crumble, so we're putting a little bit of a healthier spin. We're also using coconut oil instead of butter. And you were telling me that you have such fond memories of apple pie because of your grandma. For this recipe, you'll need 4 cups of apples, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, and for the topping, you'll need 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger and ground nutmeg, 1 cup of old-fashioned oats, 1/2 cup of protein powder, 1/3 cup of chopped pecans, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. So you want to go ahead and peel the apple, and then you can start chopping them up, kind of dicing them, and you can tell us about some memories you have of that with your grandma. I'm going to make the topping meanwhile.
So my grandmother taught me how to peel an apple, and so every time I peel an apple, I think of her, and it's just a beautiful memory for me because she's not here anymore. My daughter's actually named after her, and she's also the one that taught me how to make apple pie. So that's
so
just one time of year I peel a bunch of apples.
Yeah. And have you taught Sophia, your daughter, now how to peel apples, or not yet?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I'm afraid for her to
I
do
know.
this.
I know. Well, that is very, see here I have your peeler out. This is how I peel apples, and look at you.
Because she taught me how to do it like this.
I mean, that is very, I feel like that's like an art that you have to be taught, because I would be very scared to cut myself doing it like that.
One day I'll teach Sophia.
Yeah, but that is really sweet, and I feel like that's some of the special memories about cooking and baking is learning from somebody that you love. And that food brings you back to them as well. When you eat it, when you smell it, you just have these memories. Like with me, it's my Aunt Lori. She's also gone, and she taught me how to make so many Thanksgiving dishes. So every time we start to make Thanksgiving, I just think about Aunt Lori, and just the smells and all the tastes of the food just brings me back. She would always tell me, no, you're doing it wrong. You have to do it like this. Like she would always reteach me. And I'm like, Aunt Lori, I know you taught me already. I know how to do this.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that is some of the sweetest things about cooking and baking is it brings you back to the people that you love so often. And we were talking about how we love fall, but we also love the holidays just in general. And so I'm like, I knew you were my friend for a reason. She was saying that she already decorated for Christmas. And my whole house right now, it's the beginning of November, is decorated for Christmas. And I think that that is one of the most special things about just the fall season is it's just the introduction to the holidays, which is also such a warm, comfy time. So that's why we're making apple crisp, because it's just warm and delicious. And I think what could be better than hot, warm apples? And do you put whipped cream or ice cream on top?
Ice cream.
Yes. You have to do ice cream. You have to do the cold with the hot. There's nothing better. So when it comes to apples, what kind of apples do you use for your apple pie? Or is that really what you make, is apple pie?
That's what I make the most for apples. I mean, I peel them, you know, for my kids' lunches and things like that. I use the same technique.
Yeah.
But we use Granny Smith apples for our pie.
And so these are Honeycrisp. And I will say that I feel like Honeycrisp or Granny Smith can be used kind of equally for anything with baking with apples. Those are like probably my two favorites to bake with. Yes. So we have our diced apples that are in a baking dish ready to go. These look great. Just make sure that they're roughly the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect. Even if you're in a rush, you technically don't have to peel the apples. I have made this before without peeling and it tastes just as good. So we're gonna top the apples with just a little bit of coconut oil. And we use some coconut oil in the topping too. That's what's really gonna kind of make it taste like traditional apple crisp. And then we're gonna add our seasonings. You can go ahead and add the rest of those apples. We have some cinnamon. You can add the ginger and the nutmeg. If you have pumpkin pie seasoning that essentially has all three of those, you could just add that as well. And this is what's gonna make our kitchen smell so good as it's baking. And then we'll go ahead and stir this all together just to combine that and just to get the apples coated. What I love about apple crisp is it really is mostly just apples. I mean, and what a good dessert. I mean, you're eating mostly fruit. So it really is one of the more nutritious desserts, especially in the fall.
And I love that you're using coconut oil instead of butter too.
I really don't use butter a lot because you can use coconut oil almost anywhere that you use butter. And it's so good for you. There's so many benefits. It's anti-inflammatory and it is really one of the healthier fats. So we're gonna go ahead and cover this with foil. We're gonna bake it 350 degrees covered for 20 minutes, then uncover it and bake it for another 10 to 20 minutes just until the topping gets nice and golden brown. Coming up next, when it's my job to bring a side, my maple pecan stuffed sweet potatoes is one of my fan favorite go-tos. It presents beautifully and has all the flavors that everyone loves in their favorite casserole. So Tiana, now we're gonna make some kind of twice baked sweet potatoes, but instead of being like the savory kind, these are gonna be a sweet version. So have you ever had, which I'm sure you have, sweet potato casserole?
Oh yes.
I mean, who hasn't? But this is kind of gonna be a fun spin on that because we're just taking the sweet potatoes and we're doing all the delicious toppings that you would do on a sweet potato casserole, but on these stuffed sweet potatoes. For this recipe, you'll need 4 sweet potatoes, 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt, 1/2 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, 1 tablespoon of maple syrup, 3 tablespoons of sweetener, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and for the topping, you'll need 2/3 cup of pecans, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, and 2 tablespoons of sweetener. So I roasted these yesterday. They are very small sweet potatoes. They're very sad looking. So if you can go to the store and pick out some beautiful big sweet potatoes, that's gonna be a little bit better for this recipe because it's gonna present prettier. So we're gonna make this work. They'll still taste just as good. So I roasted these just until they're soft in the oven. So probably about 350 degrees for 20 to 40 minutes, depending on how big the sweet potato is, just until they're soft. And then I just am going to scoop out the center, just like this, and kind of leave almost like a shell with the peel. And I'm gonna put all of that tender sweet potato that I'm scooping out into a bowl so that we can make a filling when we stuff them again. And Tiana, you can go ahead and add the topping ingredients to that bowl and you're gonna mix that together. And again, that's just gonna be like almost like the sweet cinnamon pecan topping that you would use for a sweet potato casserole. And you can add some cinnamon to that as well. Cinnamon, when it comes to any kind of fall dish, I feel like you can't go wrong. You can just add cinnamon everywhere you want. So, but what are some of your traditions for Thanksgiving? Like, where do you celebrate Thanksgiving traditionally?
Well, now we celebrate it at our house, and I host. And this year we're gonna have about 20 people at our house.
Oh my gosh.
So it will be a blend of Nick, my husband's family, and my family.
And have you hosted before, or is this your first time?
It is my third time, but this is by far the most people we've ever had.
Wow, yes. And do you do everything around your table? Does everyone sit at the table and eat together?
We're gonna have 2 tables this year,
Wow.
but yes.
That sounds amazing.
And I love it, honestly. It's not stressful to me. I love hosting. But
do you
know
make
that.
the turkey?
Yes.
See, that is the
I do.
one thing that I feel very intimidated by, because my Aunt Lori always did that. And then so when she passed away, we just now buy a turkey from Whole Foods. Nobody has attempted the turkey since my Aunt Lori is gone. We're all like, yeah, we'll just have someone else make that. So I'm gonna go ahead and mash this sweet potato together. Tiana was asking me, what is this tool? This is a baby food masher. So you don't need one to make this recipe. You can of course just mash it with a fork or whatever you would normally mash bananas with when you're making banana bread. You can just do it like that. But this is a really simple tool to mash with because it just kind of gets in there and gets everything smooth. So do you want to help me add some of these ingredients to the filling? And then we'll go ahead and mix that together. We'll put it back in the sweet potato skins, and then we'll put the topping on top of that. Well, for Thanksgiving, we really have changed up what we've done the past few years. Since we moved to Tennessee, we now make it our new tradition to go back to Michigan every Thanksgiving to visit Sean's family. So my whole family has moved here to Tennessee. And so, you know, we do Christmas here, and then we do Thanksgiving in Michigan. So we pack everything up, we get the kids in the car, we drive 8 to 10 hours to Michigan, and then we spend Thanksgiving with them, and then we also celebrate Christmas while we're there. So it's kind of a happy medium, like a good way to find balance. So are your in-laws and your parents are here, correct?
Yes, they are.
And that makes it a little bit easier to kind of spend your time. But when you got married, did you find that that was really hard to figure out how to do holidays?
Absolutely. It's still challenging.
It is, I know.
We had like 3 Thanksgivings for several years.
Yes.
At everyone's house. So I do like that it's consolidated now.
Yes. And when I remember, it was maybe our second Christmas together, and we were still trying to figure things out. And Sean and I got into a huge fight on Christmas Day because we were driving back and forth, I think 3 different houses on Christmas Day, and there was a huge snowstorm. And I was like, that's it. I started crying. I said, I'm never doing this again. I'm never getting in a car and driving around. So that was kind of our end all be all. We have to find a better way to balance this whole thing. But yes, that is one of the most challenging things that I don't think anyone really talks about spending your time divided amongst holidays. When you get married, that is a very important thing. You have to find a balance. And it's not just holidays. I mean, it's every celebration in life. You have to make sure you equally include both sides of the family.
Yes.
And that's been a really big thing for watching like my sisters, same thing. Everyone that I know that up close with families, when you combine families, it's like really about finding that happy balance where everyone's happy. So holidays can be one of the times that it's a little bit more of a struggle, but we definitely learned over the years. So we just now go to Michigan and we spend Thanksgiving there. So a little bit different than how we used to do it. We used to spend our Thanksgiving as a family at my mom and dad's house in Michigan back when we lived there. And it was one of the most special times. I mean, that was when my entire family, like my whole mom's side of the family, got together at her house. So we had like 20 people.
Yes.
And that was some of my richest memories growing up. So your kids are gonna have those same kind of memories now at your house. And that's gonna be something they'll never forget. Like the smells, all of the little details, they will remember that forever because I know I sure will. So that's really, really special. Well, these look so good. Yeah, like I said, they are tiny, so I mean, they could definitely be a little bit more robust as far as the potatoes go, but they still look really good, and they're gonna smell so good baking up. It's gonna smell just like sweet potato pie. So we're gonna bake this 400 degrees for 12 to 15 minutes. Coming up next, made in less than 5 minutes and with real pumpkin puree, you can feel good about adding this flavorful creamer to your morning coffee. This is going to be one that you can swap out your chemical and sugar-laden coffee creamer and you won't even be able to tell the difference. It's really rich and creamy and it has all the same pumpkin flavors. We do use a little bit of sweetener, but you could use monk fruit or stevia or any kind of sweetener you like to make it sugar-free, but also still healthy and real food. For this recipe, you'll need 3/4 cup half and half, 3/4 cup milk of choice, 2 tablespoons sweetener of choice, 1 tablespoon cinnamon, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, and 1/2 cup of pumpkin. So I have half and half and milk here, and we're gonna go about half of each one. So you just wanna create a ratio of half and half with a thicker milk like half and half, and then whatever other type of milk you use. I often use almond milk for the other milk, but you could use a protein packed milk because they have those now where it's like a little bit higher in protein. You could use obviously any kind of milk you have on hand. And then just cinnamon and pumpkin puree. And again, like I said, sweetener of choice. So I like to do stevia or monk fruit, but you could also do coconut sugar, raw cane sugar, whatever you like. And then we're gonna put it all in a blender and we're gonna blend it all together. And that's what's really gonna make it a frothy, nice and smooth creamer rather than like being able to taste the chunks of the pumpkin in there. So you really do wanna blend it for a good while. So 1 to 2 minutes is good. That way it really combines everything and the pumpkin gets nice and smooth. And I just have my morning cup of coffee that I have here, just some leftover coffee from the pot. But whatever you like to use, if you have espresso or any kind of coffee you like, and you just kind of mix that in. And then if you need to reheat it, a lot of times I will just heat up the coffee with the creamer just in the microwave. But if you wanted to actually go ahead and heat up the whole creamer, you could. This will last in the fridge for about a week. And just thinking about seasons makes me think about moving here to Tennessee a few years ago, and it makes me think about what a hard season that was for us as a family. Sean was back in Michigan trying to wrap up his business. I had a 1-year-old. I just had surgery before moving here, and I didn't know a single soul, and I was all alone for about 6 weeks. And that was such a difficult season. I just remember crying all the time, trying to think about moving my entire house by myself with 2 little kids just out of surgery. But I remember how every single moment, every single day that I felt like I just couldn't do it anymore, God provided every single thing that I need. And I continued to just cry out to Him and just ask for help and strength and wisdom and grace. And that was actually when I met Tiana, just outside on a walk. And just even knowing one person here in Tennessee brought me so much comfort, just knowing that I knew one single soul that was so sweet. And I remember her telling me, we're here for you if you need anything at all. And so that really showed me that day that God really does care for us. He looks out for even the little things. And that really began a whole new season of just really trusting God for me. So if you're going through a difficult season right now, I would just encourage you, talk to God about everything, even the little things. He cares about you so much. And He really will provide everything you have need of. And it really will show you God's heart for you and how He really cares. He loves you so much, and He will strengthen you, give you grace and everything you need in every season of life. Thank you so much for coming to cook with me today.
You're welcome. This was a blast. Thanks for having me.
And what I loved is not only do we make good food, we talked about the holidays and we talked about family and friendship. And that means so much. And it's better to do friendship with good food.
Agreed.
If you'd like to find these recipes, you can head over to dashingdish.com where you'll find recipes and more to nourish your body and soul.